Good evening, everyone. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen in the gallery. Good evening, councillors. Welcome to tonight's regular council meeting, and I declare the meeting open at 7:01 p.m. Can we stand for the national anthem? But I'll also do the welcome to country. Acknowledgement of country. Yeah. I'd like to acknowledge the Bidjigal people of the Eora Nations. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which this meeting is held on, the Bidjigal people of the Eora Nations, and I pay my respects to their elders past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who live, work and meet on these lands. We remain standing for the national anthem. Thank you.
Australians, all let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts, all beauty rich and rare. In history's page let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains that let us sing, advance Australia fair. Beneath the radiance of the cross we'll toil with hearts and hands to make this commonwealth of ours renowned of all the lands. For those who've come across the seas, we've boundless plains to share. With courage let us all combine to advance Australia fair. In joyful strains that let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Be led by Dr. Saroja Srinivasan from the St. George Interfaith Network. Thank you.
May the Almighty protect us. May He give us the vigor to work together without dispute to gain positive results and enlighten us all. May it bring peace in the world. May it bring understanding and peace in people's mind and nature. Let there be well-being for all. Let there be completeness for all. Let there be auspiciousness for all. I'll read it again. May the Almighty protect us. May He give us the vigor to work together without dispute to gain positive results and enlighten us all. May it bring peace in the world. May it bring understanding and peace in people's mind and nature. Let there be well-being for all. Let there be completeness for all. Let there be auspiciousness for all. Peace, peace, peace.
Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you. There are no apologies for tonight amongst the councillors. There is no request to attend the meeting via audio visually. They do have a notice of live streaming of council meetings. Staff and public are reminded that this meeting is being recorded for minute-taking purposes and is also being webcast live on Council's website. This recording will be made available on Council's website. The order of business is as shown in the agenda. Council's Code of Meeting Practice prohibits the electronic recording of meetings without express permission of Council. Mobile phones must be turned to silent during the meeting. Now, we do have declarations of interest, and we have a list of them. Do any other councillors have declarations of interest that they'd like to propose at this stage? No. Okay, well, we'll start with Councillor Marnie. Declare the non-significant, non-pecuniary interest in item ENV 019-23, adoption of the Moore Reserve Plan of Management and Master Plan, for the reason that Oatley Flora and Fauna Conservation Society has carried out a series of native plantings around the dock of Lee Sherry in Moore Reserve. I am a member of the society and have participated in those planting events in recent years. Council Marnie will remain in the meeting and take part in the consideration and voting on the item. Councillor Picara declared a non-significant, non-pecuniary interest in item MM018-23, Dr. Anthony Punn, for the reasons that she is friends with Leon Punn, a son of Dr. Anthony Punn. Councillor Picara will remain in the meeting and take part in consideration and voting on this item. Councillor Picara declared a non-significant, non-pecuniary interest in item MM021-23. Congratulations to Kevin Green AM, for the reason that Kevin Green and Councillor Picara were candidates in the same group for the 2021 local government election. Councillor Picara will remain in the meeting and take part in the consideration of this item. The last one is Councillor Konjarski, declared a non-significant, non-pecuniary interest in item CCL 046-23, report of the Assets and Infrastructure Committee held on the 13th of June 2023. It has to do with the canteen management agreement, Penshurst Park extension option, for the reason that his son plays football at St George City, who are the operators of the canteen. Councillor Pinto will remain in the meeting and take part in consideration and voting on this item. We'll now go to the public participation on items on the agenda. Tonight we have 8 speakers registered for tonight's meeting. I would remind the speakers that speakers have 3 minutes, a 3-minute time limit. The first sound you hear indicates that you have 1 minute remaining. At the second sound, please conclude your comments. The first speaker remotely is David C, and it has to do with the report dealing with working together for a better future 2022 to 2026 delivery program operation. He's in person, has got remote. Oh, he's now in person. Thank you. David C, are you here? Did you want to come to the, do you want to address the council? Oh, Jesus.
Really need. How are you going? Sorry. I think it's a bit more around the budget for, was it SF23-1993? Just the budget allocation for next financial year, just around resheeting for Mercer Crescent, Beverly Hills. I guess as we see surrounding streets in our neighbourhood getting resheeted, we keep getting missed, and that's all I'm addressing today. That's it from me. Thank you.
Okay. The next item, sorry? I don't remember. I think it might have been Mercer Street. I'm not sure. Mercer Street? Or maybe you can ask the gentleman later. Thank you. Just okay. Number 2, the second person is Madison Dorian. It's a written submission on Companion Animals Act. Thank you.
I wish to oppose your motion seeking to amend the New South Wales Companion Animals Act to make it an offence to allow cats to roam and incorporate provisions to allow councils to seize unknown or feral cats. My reasons for this are as follows. Number one, the Georges River LGA does not have feral cats. We have stray cats. Feral cats are much larger than a domestic cat and have little or no human interaction, whereas stray cats are used to some type of human interaction and will need some basic rehabilitation work to build trust with humans and can be rehomed. Number two, seizing a roaming cat will be too hard to police and not truly manage the stray cat population, which has become a serious issue, not only in the Georges River LGA, but all over the world. For every cat you trap, another 100 will be born. Number three, I believe that most cats that are pets and allowed to roam are not microchipped. So you will be potentially destroying someone's much loved pet for just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Number four, you are not truly addressing the issue of people being irresponsible pet owners by A, not desexing or microchipping their pet, B, allowing their cats to breed. Note, cats can breed from as young as 4 months and have as many as 4 litres per year. 2 healthy breeding cats can explode to 420,000 cats in just 7 years. C, dumping their cats when they no longer want to care for them. If Georges River Council is genuinely wanting to address this issue, you need to be more innovative in your approach and understand that this is a long process that requires engaging the community and creating a multi-level program to help control the exploding cat population. Work with the members of the community who are exhausted and financially drained by trying to help control the stray cat population on their own. Council needs to go back to basics and offer support by 5, introducing a subsidised desexing and microchip program. 6, priority given to desexing cats over microchipping them. 7, supporting TNR, trap, neuter, release programs. 8, our community via our schools and other platforms in various languages about responsible pet ownership and offer desexing and microchip vouchers as part of the information pack. 9, work with community groups to encourage senior citizens living on their own to foster cats. Having a pet to care for offers many mental health benefits. 10, establish a volunteer stray cat protection brigade in urban and industrial areas to better monitor and understand stray cat colonies and their population. These stray cats should be microchipped to council and managed by volunteers who are currently doing this without council support to ensure they are fed and receive appropriate medical treatment. 11, support those people who currently rescue, rehabilitate and rehome stray cats but are not associated with a registered animal welfare group. More often, they either pay for all medical bills or rely on donations. We need to invest in desexing for programs now. We need to educate and support our community on responsible pet ownership rather than working on trying to trap and kill a cat because it was roaming and its owner didn't bother to microchip it. Regards, Madison Duran.
Thank you. The next person is Adrian Polhill. He will be addressing us remotely, and he will be addressing us on Glenlee 80 Baronia Parade, Lugano, and the other item is reducing waste and its impact on the environment. Mr. Adrian Polhill.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello.
Yes, I can. Yes.
Thank you.
Hello?
Hello. Please
It's
address
Adrian,
the
yes.
council.
Right, okay. I have two things I would like to address to Council tonight. I'm interrupting my holiday to Western Australia to speak to you about these two important issues. One is regarding Glenlee. I support, on behalf of Oakleigh Flora and Fauna Conservation Society, the motion and the question without notice raised by Councillor Mahoney. I'm sure all the councillors and staff present tonight know how important Glenlee is for biodiversity, cultural and historical reasons. The Georges River residents have voiced their concerns at public meetings and rallies, countless submissions and speaking to council meetings, signing petitions, etc., etc. Tonight, Oakley Flora and Fauna Conservation Society urges the Council to take a really positive action by allocating funds in the upcoming budget to purchase Glenlee, as well as funds for the Aboriginal and natural heritage assessments. It's time for courageous leadership to demonstrate to the federal and state governments that the Georges River Council really is serious about saving Glenlee for future generations. Therefore, the Council can legitimately ask the upper levels of government to provide funding for Glenlee to become and to be maintained as a most valuable community asset. Second issue I'd like to raise, I want to thank Mayor Katras for attending the Metropolitan Mayoral Summit on Waste and reporting back in his motion, reporting back the key concerns of Sydney councils. In addition to the actions he's asked the council to resolve, Oakley Flora and Fauna Conservation Society have two questions regarding food organics and garden organics and regarding polystyrene. Mayor Katras reported that by 2030 there'll be collections in all council areas for food waste and or food and garden organics. So the questions we have is, when will the council implement FOGO, as other Sydney councils have already done this? What funds are in the upcoming budget for FOGO implementation? If there are no funds available, why not? And when will there be funds available? The second issue is about polystyrene recycling. Thank you. And Mayor Katras did not mention this important waste stream in his report. So the question is, when will the Georges River Council implement collection of polystyrene? Bayside Council have been doing this for a number of years. Councillor Marnie did actually raise a motion about 12 months ago regarding polystyrene collection. So what funds are in the budget this year for polystyrene collection services? And if there are no funds, why not? And when will the funds be available? On both these issues, Oakley Flora and Fauna Conservation Society asked the council to include these in discussion when you're discussing the budget later this evening. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening, and I appreciate your time. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, Mr. Holder. I appreciate it. Unfortunately, the policy does not allow for posing questions, but your questions are very well taken and they're taken on notice, and I'm sure the councillors will be looking at those issues that you raise. I'm not sure about they can just incorporate them in the budget at this stage, but you have articulated those questions, which will be reviewed by the staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person is Ginger Lee, in person, St. George Arts and Culture Festival. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ginger Lee, President on duty on the Australian Chinese Heritage Paper Art Club Incorporated. My thanks to Mayor Nick Chris and Councillor Nancy Liu for giving us this opportunity in support of the first St. George Art and Cultural Festival. Our group is formed by local artists, including 83 members and 173 activity participants. Most of us are first generation of immigrants who had received education in China. However, being a newcomer means working twice as hard. For example, our Vice President Mus Han-Wang, as an expert who works with federal data analysis in the National Center for Emulation Research. President on duty, Peter Yu and Jack Wu are successful business owners. Iris Wu is beloved opera singer, and Peter Zhang, a Chinese popular writer. We all serve our new home, Australia, through different vocational industries. We join together for a shared passion of art. With only 20 artists being featured in the first St. George Art and Cultural Festival, space is constrained. To be honest, opportunity for display art in public area in our is extremely limited. So we highly value the first St. George Art and Cultural Festival. Art is media for communication and highlight expression. For our group, art is not only a personal passion, but a pathway to converge with society, connect with neighbors, and articulate diversity and multiculturalism. As far as we know, the Honorable David Coleman, member for Banks, made his speech to acknowledge our event at the Federal Parliament on Tuesday, 22nd June. Thanks again and have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Smith. The next person is Matthew Allison, and he's in person, and he will be talking on Glenlee 80 Baronia Parade, Lugano. Thank you.
Good evening, councillors and staff. Sorry. Before I begin, I'd just like to acknowledge and thank Councillor Fakara for her brave motion to bring the owners of cats into the realm of responsible pet ownership. In this uniquely biodiverse country, undergoing native animal species decline like no other, it is vitally important to protect our wildlife from the punishing acts of cats without conscience and their aiding and abetting owners who seem to care little for our vulnerable native fauna. But as a member of Friends of Glenlee and Oakley Flora and Fauna Conservation Society, I'd like to speak up in support of Councillor Marnie's questions with notice in his efforts to shore up Glenlee's protection, ensuring preservation of this Limekiln Bay pearl for all the community. With a 2.5 hectare property now back on the real estate market, we don't have any time to waste. Council's unanimous support for the listing of Glenlee on the New South Wales Heritage Register has been warmly appreciated and by Friends of Glenlee and the broader community as a whole. We were all similarly buoyed when a Labor government was elected to New South Wales as Penny Sharp, the Shadow Environment and Heritage spokesperson, who had attended our initial Glenlee rally and had stated that the then LNP government should save this iconic site, has been missing in action with not even a peep of support to date. Even our local member, Mark Cure, has finally found his voice and has recently been heard asking questions in State Parliament about the government's inaction on bringing Glenlee into community hands. But I guess what is said in opposition compared to what is said in the position of power is seldom the same. It would seem that our best source of support is indeed all of you councillors sitting here tonight. As to all of us sitting back here, we would really hope and trust that tonight you budget adequately for the necessary research and fieldwork that is required to support Glenlee's application for state heritage listing. It will be a great show of support to the community that, at least at the local level, your continued commitment to saving Glenlee from the developers who would prefer a blank canvas than the richly historical and ecologically important vital green corridor that it remains today. And what we do today determines what we have tomorrow. Thank you very much.
The next address is coming from Mr. Stephen Matthews, and it's in person, and he will be talking about Penshurst Park. Mr. Matthews, thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to respond and correct some comments that were made at a previous meeting about the Sporting Hub and referencing St George City and their tenancy. By background, we're the largest tenant, contributing more than 150,000 a year to that Sporting Hub, including ground rental and gym memberships. It's a required part of the service. Before, we weren't properly providing for aspiring footballers out of this area, of which there's 7,000 players in this area. They were having to go out of area to find options to play representative football, which wasn't acceptable. Now, our tenancy requires us to close off the field for 2 hours and 45 minutes on 15 occasions during the year. Now, through this, that's 0.005% of the time that is available to the public. Now, even during this time, we continue to allow any residents that come to the gate free access. We insist on it, we ensure it, and it's never been any different. On our match day, we cater for up to 3,000 spectators and players over the course of the day, and these people are predominantly ratepayers. In relation to the behavioural issues that were raised at the past meeting, I don't believe the first ones were directed at us at all. The high level of football typically means that issues are better managed. We have a strict code of conduct, and many breaches have seen players and parents removed from the club. We also have many monitoring crowd behaviour, and on senior days we appoint 4 professional security guards. Now, there was one issue that concerned me on the day, and that was related to an issue with some female dancers. Now, on that night, I will concede that there was a lot more people there than normal and a lot more children. And I will, in looking at this, people did jump the fence and approach the dancers. However, when I went to the area, it was brought to my attention. I went over and spoke to the dancer lady, and she tried to get them out. She said, no, it's okay, they can stay, which flies in the face of what the previous writer had suggested may have happened. In regard to throwing bottles, I had got to the bottom of that. There was one bottle lobbed over one fence to one player that was on the outside of the fence that he didn't catch. It was 8 metres away from where the dancers were, and there was a further 2 fences between where the bottle landed and where the people were actually dancing. Unfortunately, Mr. Mayor, there's a local group of people that are trying to cause trouble. They turn up and stand in the corner of the field, arms crossed, looking for something they can complain about. People from our club have been often abused for not letting people into the ground, and this is just a simple out and out lie. Mr. Mayor, I commend the council for their commitment to the improvement of so many local facilities over the past 7 years. It's just a shame that more people don't focus on the positives rather than look so deep to find the negatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. The next person to address us is Mr. Kim Wagstaff, and it's got to do with working together for a better future, 2022-2026 delivery program. Mr. Wagstaff, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, I'd like to raise 2 specific issues in the operational plan and budget for 23-24 before you later tonight. Number 1, the funds needed to undertake the required natural and Aboriginal heritage studies directed towards the state heritage listing of the Glenlee property have not been provided in the budget. You are all well aware of the importance of this property to the local community, demonstrated by petitions, rallies, letters, etc., as well as submissions in the report before you tonight. There were 84 separate submissions arising from the consultation and documented in this report. Of these 84, more than half, or 45 by my count, made reference to seeking a budget allocation at least for these studies, if not to put towards the purchase of the whole property itself. Funding these studies would be an investment in the future, in effect a down payment on the future purchase of the site, as the studies will reveal the true heritage value of the site to council and our community. The business plan for purchase of the property by government of whatever level, I am sure, would be bolstered by these studies. and the investment needs to be made right now when the property is back on the market and may be sold for what the estate agent labelled as potentially, amongst other things, a clean slate for a developer. Does that send shivers up your spine? And you know what that means. Number two, the other item I want to draw your attention to is the significant tree register. It's dealing within the budget. Despite the deliverable develop a significant tree register in the LGA have been in the delivery program for a number of years, it appears that $20,000 needed to do a thorough job on its development and implementation, and finalising the STR has not been allocated. The draft significant tree register is in fact currently open for nominations. This will be a trial of the nomination system and process. By late 2023, it is expected that a further report on the results of the STR trial will be put to Council to adjust if necessary and finalised for implementation. However, without this allocation of funds, it will not happen, and potentially the work done to date may be lost. We must proceed with this project to achieve functionality of the significant tree register, to acknowledge the importance of and help protect our tree canopy. So in conclusion, councillors, I strongly urge you to please carefully consider the implications of these two funding shortfalls, that is the heritage studies at Glenlee and the significant tree register completion, and amend the draft 23-24 budget to include the necessary funds for these projects when you talk about it tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Waxman. The final speaker is Ms. Helen Payne. That's a written submission from for MM 02423 St George Arts and Culture Festival.
Dear Mr Mayor, councillors, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Helen Payne, current president of Ocean Dream Cultural Arts Centre Inc. Thanks, Mr Mayor, for providing me with the opportunity to speak on and strongly support the item MM 02423 2023 First St George Arts and Culture Festival. We are a not-for-profit grassroots community organisation. We usually hold many different free classes throughout the year, including teaching and performing traditional Chinese dance, Western dance, classic dance, jazz dance, basic training and yoga, etc. Over the years, we have cooperated with former Hurstville Council to plan and organise the Discovery Festival of Community Arts, which were presented in St George area for many times. Australia is a multicultural society of immigrants coming from many different countries with obvious visual differences in skin colour, hair colour and facial features, while the acoustical difference is in language. As a matter of fact, ethnical difference is basically cultural difference that always exists everywhere. Our purpose of promoting exchanges and cooperation in folk cultures among different ethnic groups is to encourage the understanding and appreciation of diversified cultures and to enhance the mutual understanding and friendship among different ethnic groups. Mutual understanding is a process of learning from each other and making the best of both worlds, thereby making a far more harmonious Australian society and advancing hand in hand. As part of the local community, we feel pleased being invited by Councillor Nancy Liu to jointly hold this cultural and artistic festival. We are also proud of being one out of 16 participating arts and cultural organisations. The purpose is trying to showcase the visual and performing arts achievements from different cultural background groups, promote our local arts and cultural brand, and build a harmonious multicultural society in St George area. We appreciate receiving lots of positive and inspiring feedback from the community after the event finished. We feel that there are lots we could achieve more and better, so look forward to working together with more ethnic groups from local communities in the future. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. There being no more addresses from the community, we'll then go to the next item on the agenda, which is the confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting. Could I have a move by Councillor Ficarra, seconded by Councillor Almeida? Thank you. I'll put it. All those in favour say aye. Aye. All those against say no. I declare it carried. Now we'll go to my mayoral minutes, and the first one is available to Dr. Anthony Hunt. Dr. Anthony Punt was born in Malaysia and arrived in Australia in 1964. After completing his PhD in molecular biology at the University of New South Wales in 1978, he was made Chief Research Scientist at the St Vincent's Hospital, where he remained for 19 years. In 1989, during the tragic events at Tiananmen Square, Dr. Punt reached out to the then Prime Minister, Mr. Bob Hawke, to intervene to allow Chinese students to stay in Australia to avoid the brutal crackdown on student protesters in China. Mr. Hawke not only offered asylum to the students, but to all of the 42,000 Chinese nationals in Australia. Dr. Punt chaired the New South Wales Government's Ethnic Communities Council for 2 terms from 1997 to 1998 and 2001 to 2003. He was also a member of the Federal Government's Immigration Review Tribunal and the Equal Opportunity Tribunal of New South Wales, as well as the founding president of the Chinese Community Council of Australia and one of the founding members of the Chinese Australian Forum. He called for an apology for Chinese Australians who were the victims of racial violence on the New South Wales goldfields in the mid-19th century, including anti-Chinese riots at Lambing Flats. Dr. Punt has been honoured with the New South Wales Premier's Award for Community Service on 3 occasions. Was celebrated in the New South Wales Legislative Council for his extensive involvement with Chinese community organisations, New South Wales government advisory committees and cultural organisations over decades. He was also awarded the Medal of the Order of Australia for services to the community through the Australian Chinese Community Association of New South Wales and the Chinese Australian Forum. Dr. Punt is survived by his wife Juliana, sons Andrew and Leon, and grandchildren. Look, Dr. Punt was obviously a man of high principles, and he had real commitment to his social equity, especially with regards to the Chinese community and many other communities. I did meet Dr. Punt on many occasions, and I really do believe that he was an unassuming man, a man that sort of looked forward to helping the community, assisting the community in every way possible, and representing their concerns. I'm sure he's going to be missed by many because he did touch a lot of people's lives. He also passed away very suddenly. My motion is that Council acknowledge the passing of Dr. Anthony Punt and extend our deepest condolences to his families, and a detailed record of his life to be provided in the archives of the library. If anyone wants to talk to that, I'm happy.
Yes, please, Mr. Mayor. Just very briefly, I and also Councillor Abraham Bahar attended the memorial service for Dr. Punt. It was very sad that such an incredible contributor to our community in New South Wales has passed away, and I learned much about how he has contributed in big and small ways to so many people's lives.
Thank you, Councillor Ficarra. Has anybody else got anything that they want to indicate or address the council with? No. All right, I'll put it. All those in favour say aye. Aye. All those against say no. I declare it carried, and we now go to another mayoral report, the Australasian Reporting Awards. We ended up getting a gold award for the 2021-2022 annual report. Background: on the 15th of June 2023, council officers attended an awards presentation ceremony for the 2023 Australasian Reporting Awards, ARA. For the 3rd year, and that's, council, let's just note that, the 3rd year running, council was successful in achieving a gold award for our annual report. The ARA awards are open to all organisations in Australia, New Zealand, and countries in the Asia Pacific region that prepare annual reports. This includes, it's not just local government or public service. This includes companies, government departments and agencies, and not-for-profit bodies, including charities. A gold award recognises the significant effort by staff in producing an annual report of high quality in both content and design. To receive a gold award, a report must achieve overall excellence in annual reporting, provide high quality coverage of all aspects of the ARA criteria, provide full disclosures of key aspects of the core business, address the current legislative and regulatory requirements, and be a model for all other reports to follow. You'll find that in the motion we indicate the Daniel Parker as the acting director of business and corporate. I want to take the opportunity to congratulate Daniel Parker for achieving her goal of becoming the actual director of business and corporate services, and we are really happy that she's remained on board. Thank you, Daniel. Now, my motion is that council congratulates council officers, in particular Vicky McKinley, manager office of the general manager, Daniel Parker, director of business and corporate services, and Rianne Potter, city image and brand officer for their efforts in achieving the gold award for council's 2021-2022 annual report and at the 2022 Australasian Reporting Awards. I'll put that. Does anybody else want to say anything? No? I'll put that. All those in favour say aye. Aye. All those against say no. I declare it carried. Now, this is a long one, and I'm not going to read all of it out. I'll try and summarise it as much as I can. It's got to do with reducing waste. One of the speakers actually addressed us on this matter, and I think it is a very important matter. I'll just read some parts of it and just deal with it as they come forward. Reducing waste and its impact on the environment. Across Australia, people are asking for more ambitious actions on climate change. Reducing waste and its impact on the environment reducing waste and its impact on the environment is one of the key actions councils can take to lower our emissions. Across Sydney metropolitan area, 55% of household and commercial waste goes to landfill each year, resulting in loss of valuable resources, costing businesses and households more than $750 million in waste levies each year. Sydney councils must meet ambitious resource recovery and waste reduction targets while also meeting the community's expectation for uninterrupted services and public health. The next paragraph goes on to indicate that we actually have a serious and significant shortfall of readily accessible waste collectors and transfer sites, and I won't read the whole paragraph out. The following paragraph is dealing with the many initiatives that all councils and local government have implemented to deal with separate recyclable products, and we've done a lot of work in that, like local government. The problem, and then the next paragraph deals with the fact that we're actually, the increase in population is running away with us. We just can't cope with the increase in population, and we're finding that the increases in costs are becoming horrendous. Now, this is the part that I think I will read out, and that is the waste level on landfill is an incentive to recycle, but in a failing market, it just adds to the cost that councils must charge to the community. Now, I think you'd need to take this statistic into account. Around 7% of approximately 800 million in annual waste levy revenue comes back to councils and the waste industry through contestable grants to fund improvements. 7% of 800,000 in levies. Councils are not receiving a fair share of funding despite being asked to meet government targets and transition to a circular economy. We actually need more of that money. 7% is only $56 million, and that's shared amongst a number of councils. I did attend, as the Speaker said, I did attend the Metropolitan Sydney Mayoral Summit on Waste on the 18th of May 2023 to discuss what Council can do to contribute solutions to these concerns. The Sydney Mayoral Summit was convened by the Southern Sydney Regional Organisation of Council, SSROC, on behalf of Resilient Sydney, which our council supports. The president is John Baker, and he was quite passionate about what we need to do to impress all levels of government that we need their assistance. But together we heard from the waste industry, New South Wales EPA, the federal government representatives, and Sydney mayors about initiatives and areas of influence where councils can work together. To build on what I heard at the summit, I recommend that council resolve several actions to address the waste issues faced by councils. My motion is, and it's actually a repetition of what was agreed to by all the mayors and what SSROC put forward. A, that council write to the Commonwealth Government to expedite bans on materials that cannot be recycled or recovered and to increase extended producer responsibilities. The council write to the New South Wales Government to set the waste levy at an appropriate level with realistic allocation to streamline planning approvals for infrastructure and to increase clarity and efficiency of licensing procedures. C, that council work with other Metropolitan Sydney councils to coordinate our advocacy, communications and collective buying power to bring the benefits of scale, efficiency and industry confidence. That council work with other tiers of government to ensure the delivery of infrastructure solutions locally to reduce waste haulage long distances or to landfill. Did anyone want to talk to that? No. Councillors, I'll put it. All those in favour say aye. Aye. All those against say no. I declare it carried. Now we have another one, and I do apologise for so many of them, but they are very important. So bear with me. Congratulations to Kevin Green, AM. The background is this: Kevin Green is well known for his long-standing services to the Georges River community. He was a member of Parliament of the New South Wales Parliament in 1999 to 2011, representing the Georges River, in 1999 and 2007, and Oatley 2007 to 2011. He was Minister for Community Services 2007 to 2008, Minister for Gaming, Racing and Sports 2008 to 2011, and Minister for Major Events 2010-2011. Kevin Green was first elected to Georges River Council in September 2017 and served as the council's inaugural mayor. He is well known for his dedication to ensuring the highest standards of services are delivered to the community. His outstanding work with numerous organisations is also to be commended, including Lions Club of Lugano, Illawarra Catholic Club, Hurstville Centenary Sports Committee, Hurstville Bicentenary Committee, Salvation Army's Red Shield Appeal, and Mortdale RSL Sub-Branch. Mr. Green continues to lead a number of significant fundraising activities to support medical research and community members in need. Mr. Green, AM, was recently recognised in the 2023 King's Birthday Honours list and appointed a member of the Order of Australia for his significant service to Parliament of New South Wales, local government and to the community. I'm sure everyone will agree that Kevin is an outstanding community figure who sacrifices much of his time to the best interests of the community. My motion is that Council congratulate Mr. Kevin Green AM on the significant honour and thank him for his many years of dedicated service. Does anyone want to talk to this? No. I'll put it. All those in favour say aye. Aye. All those against say no. I declare it carried. And the next one is another good news story from our staff. It's the Local Government New South Wales Excellence Awards. I wish to bring to Council's attention a recent award won by the Georges River Council. At the Local Government New South Wales Excellence Awards earlier this month, Georges River won a highly commended award in the category of First Nations community partnerships for the project Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Voices. Council delivered a suite of programs and initiatives throughout 2022 focused on building partnerships and providing opportunities for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders to present their experience and voice. A collaborative approach was undertaken to deliver a NAIDOC Family Day event, develop the Indigenous Space in Library Places project, and present the living history and connection of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people along the Georges River in exhibition. That was Cooraban, where the salt water meets the fresh water. These projects had the common theme of educating the broader community about the significance of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander languages, culture and history through partnerships with Dal Murray, the Gushaka Foundation, UTS Jumbunna Institute, and in consultation with members of the Council's Aboriginal Reference Group and community elders. Council also developed and endorsed brand guidelines that promote protocols to acknowledge and support the local Aboriginal community and celebrates Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander art and culture. These awards celebrate outstanding achievements while promoting innovation and continuous improvement within New South Wales Government and your local government. To receive this level of industry recognition is an exciting achievement. I must say that I did go to the meeting that was organised by the Honourable Linda Burney. She was on stage with Craig Foster, and I will say that it was a very enlightening and informative address that they provided. I can only encourage people to become very much aware of both sides of the argument and not be swayed by just propaganda. Make sure that you're actually getting proper advice. My motion, and I did try as much as I can to get the director to actually give me the names of the staff that were responsible, but the director indicated that there are too many involved, so I can't name them this time. My motion is that Council congratulate the staff involved in the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Voices project, which received a highly commended award within the First Nations Community Partnership category at the 2023 Local Government New South Wales Excellence Award. Does anybody else want to talk to this? No? Okay, I'll put it. All those in favour say aye. All those against say no. I declare it carried. And there's a few more. I'm sorry. This one's actually very important to us, extremely important, not that the others weren't. This has to do with the WestConnex M8 draft, WestConnex M8 draft road network program review. What you'll find is Georges River, and I'll say this, Georges River Council welcomes the opportunity to provide feedback to the WestConnex M8 draft road network performance review plan. The RNRP was provided to Council officers on the 15th of May 2023. Look, I won't read all this out. I think it's important for you to know that part of the conditions of approval for the M8 and the M5 was that they were supposed to do this report 12 months after the M5, the M8, the M5 were opened. And the M8 was opened on the 5th of July 2020, and the report has been given to us 26th of June 2023, 2 years overdue, and I forgot to bring it in, but it's about that thick. It's about, I don't know, 50 pages long, and for something that is so important to us, it's amazing that they have not, all they've done in the report is address the counts at the intersection. And that's all they've done. The congestion, the delays caused at intersections, but they did not address the issue of the heavy trucks travelling on King George's Road, travelling on the Princess Highway, travelling on many of the travelling on many of the highways, because they don't want to actually pay that huge toll. Now, I understand that the current state government, the Labor state government, has now inherited this issue, inherited this problem. We have heard in the lead up to the elections that something will be done about it, and I'm looking forward to hearing from the Premier as to where we're going with this. Because one of the things that was indicated in the report was they did not have the authority to deal with the impact of tolls on the local road structure. And what I'm talking about is all the trucks that clog up the main roads. So they didn't, but having said that, that is our major issue. I've discussed this with the council staff, the director, and the major issue is the fact that they have not modelled the increase in heavy vehicles in our neighbourhood, and because they weren't investigated. So what I'm proposing, we in conjunction with our director and our council staff, is the following: Georges River Council provides key feedback, requires key feedback. Georges River Council's key feedback is the following. This is what we need. Council is concerned that the impact to local roads has not been properly modelled or assessed. Of particular concern is the increase of heavy vehicles in neighbourhoods. Council requests traffic data for all roads to be provided to the Georges River and Bayside councils, confirming the updated traffic volumes and the percentage of heavy vehicles use. Should there be an increase in vehicle use, further studies will be requested from council due to the potential increase in future road maintenance. Regarding an investigation into Kingsgrove Road and Croydon Road, council requests Traffic New South Wales discuss any proposals with council prior to finalisation. Council supports future active transport investigation to connect local schools to public transport. Council requests Traffic New South Wales to provide updates to ensure any proposals align with the strategic cycleway corridor program and the council's transport strategy. Council requests traffic count data obtained from the investigation to be provided to council. The records will be utilised to determine the increased volume on state roads and the estimated number of vehicles accessing council's local roads. Providing indicative amounts such as less than 500 does not provide the details on the extent of the issue. And my motion is that council officers provide feedback as outlined in the Merrill Minute just now to the Transport New South Wales. Does anyone else want to talk to that? Being the case, I'll put it. All those in favour say aye. All those against say no. I declare it carried. The next item is St George Arts and Culture Festival. I'd like to congratulate the organiser and co-organiser of the 2023 First St George Arts and Culture Festival, being the St George Community Alliance and the Ocean Dream Culture Art Centre of Australia, which was held on Friday the 9th of June 2023 between the hours of 5:30 to 9:30 p.m. at the Marana Auditorium. I did attend and also gave a speech. I, along with the state and federal members and some of our own councils, were treated to a spectacular arts exhibition and a number of performances that were both professional and entertaining. It successfully combined the graphic arts and the performing arts under the same roof. This was a great opportunity to collaborate with local arts and cultural performing organisations, and there were in total, a total 16 arts and cultural community organisations and groups that were in attendance on the night. Among those, a large majority are based in and from the St George area. I further congratulate the event's Chief Directors, Mrs Helen Payne, and the event's Deputy Planner Councillor Nancy Liu for convening and organising a splendid and very entertaining cultural festival that was experienced by almost a full house. The most is that St George River Council congratulates the organiser and co-organiser of the 2003 First St George Arts and Culture Festival, being the St George Community Alliance and the Ocean Dream Cultural Arts Centre of Australia, on a very successful multicultural festival event, and notes that the council is happy to continue to support such events that add to the diversity and richness of our cultural fabric. Does anyone want to talk to that? Councillor Liu, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know you have a lot of very important issues under your mirror minute, so I won't drag too long. But I just want to emphasize one thing. This event is not I won't have any position to take the credit, but I'm the one, I'm going to them to be someone to listen and to talk, and then to work together with everyone. So that's for this event, everyone is the main character, not me. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, to providing the opportunity for them to, as a part of the public forum today, to watch the process of mirror minutes. So can I, if you allow me, been consulted with the Mr. Mayor and the GM, can I call upon those people representing these three organizations: Australian Calligraphers Association, Harry Wayne, and Shelley Dang, representing Australia Calligraphers and Painters Association, and Ginger Lee, representing Australian Chinese Heritage Paper Art Club Incorporated, to present our artwork to council. So, Mr. Mayor, would you mind to represent council to receive that one? Please. This painting is being done at the beginning of this event, so being presented by all of these three a few people representing these three organizations. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
No, you put it on the table. There's the table. Okay, thank you for that. That was unexpected. But I do appreciate the sentiment. We've only got two more to go, councillors, so just bear with me. This one's a sad one. It's the passing of Brian Booth, MBE. Councillors, tonight I know we didn't vote on that. Oh, okay. We didn't vote on the last motion. It's just been brought to my attention. I'll put that. All those in favour say aye. All those against say no. I declare it carried, and we'll now go to the next mayoral minute. Councillors, tonight I note the recent passing of a long-time Noe resident, Brian Booth, MBE. Born in Perthfield, just outside of Bathurst, Brian moved to the St George district in 1952 to commence his teacher training. For the next 70 years, he made an enormous contribution to our community, and I extend our deepest sympathy to Brian's wife, Judy, and his 4 daughters and extended family. Brian's prodigious talent saw him represent Australia in Test cricket on 29 occasions, twice as captain, scoring 1,773 runs, including 5 centuries. He represented New South Wales in the Sheffield Shield 93 times, also captaining the state as he scored 5,577 runs, with recognition in the Hall of Fame 2014 and life membership in 1971. His career for St George included 10,674 runs and 23 centuries. That's the club record. His 110 wickets included a hat-trick against North Sydney in 1961-1962. He was chosen in the club's team of the century in 2010, as well as the Hall of Fame. Life membership was awarded in 1970. Brian was elected a life member of the MCC, and in 1982 received an MBE from the Queen. Brian is the only Australian Test cricketer to have represented in the Olympics, being a member of the Australian hockey team at the Melbourne Games in 1956. The Brian Booth Medal is presented each year to the outstanding player in the Sydney Premier Hockey Competition. While Brian's cricket playing record, particularly for St George, is outstanding, his contribution off the field in the nearly 50 years since his playing retirement has been remarkable. After service on the management committee, Brian, while still playing, took on the responsibility of the club president in 1972. 10 years in this office, then became 40 years as a club patron, and including devoting his energy throughout the 1990s to the role of under-16 AW Green Shield coach, giving freely of his knowledge to the generation of young cricketers. A very hands-on and passionate patron who would be seen every week at Hurstville Oval or Harold Fraser in quiet conversation with a player who sought his advice that was always considered and measured. Even this season, with his ailing health, he was still seen on the balconies of both grounds, supporting the players and the club he loved. Perhaps the most important thing that can be said about Brian Booth was that everyone who met him liked him, undoubtedly because he was always respectful, courteous, and interested in the person with whom he was conversing. The Booth Saunders Pavilion at Hurstville Oval carries his and his great friend Warren Saunders' names is a lasting tribute to two wonderful servants of the district. I move that the council recognises the recent passing of Brian Booth MBE and extended sympathy to his wife Judy and family. A detailed record of his life is to be prepared for the library archives. I'll put that. All those in favour say aye. Aye. All those against say no. And councillors, this is the last mayoral minute. It has to do with the Mayor's Charity Golf Day. The annual Charity Golf Day held recently at Hurstville Oval, at the Hurstville Oval course, again proved to be a resounding success. Thanks to the generous support of our sponsors and players, $20,000 will be donated to the St George Sutherland Medical Research Foundation. These golf days have been held for over 20 years, and many of the sponsors have been involved every year. We must actually we must actually congratulate and thank Kevin Green for putting these golf days together. He's been doing it for over 20 years. It may be called the Merrill Golf Charity Golf Day, but it's actually, I would suggest it probably be called the Kevin Green Golf Day. But it's an outstanding success, and he does a great job in putting it together. The organising committee can be proud of their efforts in that regard. I particularly thank Phil Bates and the Lions Club of Laguna, who worked tirelessly in the background to ensure the days run smoothly. Also, a big thank you to Bluefish staff, led by course professional Stuart Hardiman, and our course superintendent, Peter Burns, and his team, who presented the course spectacularly. This year, the day coincided with the official opening of the new clubhouse and course renovation, and I was pleased to perform the duty with the support of the councillors and the councillors that were present, with Councillor Catherine Lansbury, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Colleen Symington, Councillor Ben Wang, Councillor Natalie Mort, and Councillor Pete Arney. I also want to thank the directors for being present, and that was the 4 directors, Ms. Merrill, Andrew Latter, and Christy Dodd, and Daniel Parker. Okay, and David Tuxford, the General Manager. Sorry, I keep forgetting this. And Merrill Bishop. Sorry, Merrill. Yeah. Now, I must say the $2.5 million in state government funding was initiated by the member of Oatley, Mark Curre MP. It's supplemented $400,000 from the Hurstville Golf Club, allowing for the replacement of the original pro shop. The new structure incorporates quality facilities, including the function room where 140 players and guests gathered, as well as a pro shop, meeting room, amenities, card storage. The course upgrades included 4 new greens and restructuring of 6 fairways. Council can be proud of its this quality public facilities. As I mentioned on the day, a big thank you to Director Andrew Latter and his staff, as well as our contractors, project coordination, Wheatley Golf Design, and Fleming Contractors. The motion is that Council thank the Mayor's Charity Golf Club Day Organising Committee for their continued support, the sponsors, players, Mark Curre MP, and staff for a very successful charity golf day held in Hurstville Golf Club. Councillors, does anybody else want to say anything to that? I'm not a golfer, councillor. Anyway, I'll put that. All those in favour say aye. All those against say no. I declare it carried. Look, I now finished the Merrill minutes, and we're now going to the report of the Environment and Planning Committee meeting of the 13th of June 2008. Council, sorry. Oh, sorry, I didn't get that. I apologise, Councillor Lansbury.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to note the sudden passing in Germany over the weekend of former Labor leader and minister, the Honourable Simon Crean. He was aged 74, and he was actually over in Germany as part of an industry delegation for trade. Simon Crean was the member for Hotham in Victoria from 1990 to 2013. And prior to being elected to Parliament, he was president of the ACTU during the Accord era, which was a very important time. And he was minister in the Hawke, Keating, Rudd and Gillard governments. He was the only person to serve as a cabinet minister in all of those governments. He held many ministries during his time in Parliament, including trade, agriculture, resources and energy, as well as training and industry. And he was committed to jobs and skills development in the finest of Labor traditions. Simon Crean was leader of the opposition for 2 years, from 2001 to 2003. And he was the only federal Labor leader since 1916 to never have faced an election. In 2003, when as opposition leader, he staked his reputation on opposing Australian participation in the Iraq War. He declared the war is wrong. Australia should not be in it. Saddam Hussein is a brutal dictator. Iraq must be disarmed, but this is not the way to do it. He also said as much to the face of George W. Bush in 2003 when President Bush visited Australia. After leaving Parliament following the 2013 election, he continued promotion of trade relationships, including with the European Australian Business Council and also the Australia-Korean Business Council. He was widely credited for supporting women rising in the party, and under his leadership, he increased the quota of women in running for winnable seats from 35% to 40%. He was in fact succeeded in his own seat of Hotham by Claire O'Neill, who's currently our Minister for Home Affairs in the Albanese Labor government. He was also the patron of the Mental Health Foundation of Australia. Simon Crean made an extraordinary contribution to public life, and it's interesting because I think most people would have seen him through the lens of the media, and he was not a great media performer. I'm sorry to say that. He was not great, but there was something that always sticks in my mind. Many years ago, there was an Australian Story feature on him, and the warmth and humanity that came through when he was sitting down speaking to the presenter just about his life in Parliament, his family, and how important his family was to him. And I was very struck by the fact that not only his wife, but both of his daughters were all Geminis. And as a Gemini woman, I commend him for sustaining living in a household of 3 Gemini women. I would like to extend my condolences on behalf of Council to Simon Crean's family and friends. He is survived by his wife Carol, his wife of 50 years, and his children Emma and Sarah, and their partners and grandchildren. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lansbury. And yes, our condolences do go to Simon Crean's family. Now, well, I think we should all stand for 1 minute silence. Thank you. We'll now go to the report of the Environment and Planning Committee meeting held on the 13th of June 2023. Councillor Lansbury.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move the recommendation that the Environment and Planning Committee recommendations for items ENV 018-23 to ENV 022-23 as detailed below be adopted by Council.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. Yeah. Moved by Councillor Lansbury, seconded by Councillor Moore. Is there any discussion? There is none. I'll put that. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Declare it carried. We then go to the report of the Finance and Governance. Councillor Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move the recommendation that the Finance and Governance Committee recommendations for item FIN 023-23 to FIN 025-23 as detailed in the report be adopted by Council.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Marnie. Any discussion? There being no discussion, I'll put it. All those in favour say aye. Aye. All those against say no. Declare it carried. The report of the Assets and Services, Councillor Symington.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move the recommendation of the Assets and Infrastructure Committee recommendation for item ASS 013-23 to ASS 015-23 and ASS 026A-23 as detailed below be adopted by Council.
Thank you, Councillor.
Second that, Mr Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Simon and seconded by Councillor Konjowski. Is there any discussion? There being none, I'll put it. All those in favour say aye. Aye. All those against say no. We now go to the Georges River. The Georges River report of the outstanding council resolutions. Councillor Borg, thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll move the recommendation that the report on outstanding council resolutions for the period up to and including 31 March 2023 be received and noted.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Marnie. I'll put that. All those in favour say aye. Aye. All those against say no. Declare it carried. We'll now go to the Georges River Council Media Policy. Councillor Ball.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
You've got your...
Sorry, yes, I'm just moving the recommendation as published in the report.
Second.
Second, Mr Mayor.
Second. Mayor, is there any discussion on that? Being no discussion, I'll put it. All those in favour say aye. Aye. All those against say no. I declare it carried. We're now going to working together for a future, better future. The 2026 delivery program, 2023-24 operational plan and updated resources. Councillor Ball.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm going to move the recommendation that is in the report with an amendment that's been provided to the staff, and it's up there on the screen. If I could have a seconder, and I might just read through the amended items.
Seconder, Councillor Marnie. You second. Oh, no. Sorry. Oh, okay. Well, okay. You've got a record of that? Thank you. There's a record taken, Councillor Marnie. Thank you. Councillor Borg, yeah, would you like to talk to it?
I will. Is the seconder? Sorry.
Councillor Marnie.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, me? Okay. Councillor Mayor is the seconder.
Okay. I'll just read through the items that have been added, and then if I could speak to the motion. So, item A remains unchanged. In item B, we're adding a section that the following items be reduced or deferred in the 2023-24 operational budget. That is the community grants program. The budget be reduced by 75,000 to 325,000. The child safe, accessible, inclusive and livable communities audit, the budget be reduced by 138,000 to 150,000. Just for the benefit of people in the gallery, the items highlighted in blue currently are the amended items. So what's not in blue was what was published in the business paper originally. So we move down to the following items be included in the 2023-24 operational budget. So the first 6 items were as published in the business paper, and we are adding in the following items that are highlighted in blue. Significant tree register, $20,000. Glenlee Aboriginal and Natural Heritage Study, $50,000. Library feasibility study, $60,000. Councillor Ward Discretionary Fund, $75,000. Expansion of Citizenship Program, $9,000. NAIDOC Week, $15,000. Youth Week, $10,000. Anti-racism training in schools, $18,000. Pride Month, $15,000. Georges River Keeper Committee Coastal Management Plan, $20,000. Affordable Housing Contribution Scheme Pilot, $50,000. Consultant Development Assessment Engineering, $50,000. Wildlife Protection Area Signage, $30,000. Tree Canopy Coverage Mapping, $20,000. Analysis of risk along ethane pipeline, $35,000. Wayfinding signage for dementia friendly and DEA, $5,000. Traffic study, streets surrounding Gannons Park, $30,000. Traffic study surrounding streets surrounding Pecos Park, $30,000. Traffic study Mashman Avenue access upgrade, $30,000. The following items be reduced or deferred in the 2023-24 capital program. The Gannons Park to Oakley Park walking trail design, $250,000. The following items be included in the 2023-24 capital program: design of the internal Oakley Park's bath amenities block, $15,000. Osprey nesting platform, $25,000. And Mortdale and Carlton Depot toilet upgrade, $70,000. We have a revision to item C that now reads that the 23-24 budget operating surplus is unfavourably reduced from 4.1 million to 3.4 million. And an addition of item D, that the General Manager make administrative amendments to the Council Award Discretionary Fund policy to strengthen the probity and acquittal process of the fund. That is just a summary of the amendment.
Did you want to talk to it?
Yes, if I could, please. Thank you. So firstly, I'd just like to start by thanking the community for their engagement this year on the budget, otherwise known as the Council's operational and delivery plan. As one of our speakers mentioned, there were 84 submissions this year, which was up from 70 last year and just 6 the year before that. So really pleasing to see that the level of engagement from the community is increasing year on year. In total, there were 185 individual items raised and responded to by staff, which you can read in attachment 3, which is in tonight's business paper. So this level of engagement is so important to inform the councillors and the staff of the community's expectations and priorities. And I thank the speakers who've also taken the time tonight to come along and to further reinforce those priorities here to council tonight. And I know it's a very windy, horrible night out there, so thanks for taking the time. I'd like to thank the staff for the detailed responses provided to each of the submissions, and also for the transparency in publishing these submissions so that the community can read them all. And I think this is a really good step forward. For anyone who's taken the time to read through that attachment 3, as I have, you'll get a really good picture that there are so many important and worthwhile projects that are all competing for council's limited budget. And as the report highlights tonight, there's still over $400 million of capital projects that are deferred due to funding, prioritisation and capacity. So we've got a fixed budget. It's really limited, and we're trying to do as much for the community that you're asking as possible, whilst still maintaining all of the important essential services that we need to do. And I just want to highlight that this year's budget really has prioritised the essentials. It's with the largest investment in our critical assets, such as our road infrastructure, footpaths, and stormwater and drainage facilities. So our Director Hugh, Mr. Ludder, will be happy, and I think we should all be happy as well. This comes off the back of 2 natural disasters that have had serious impact on all of our assets. And this investment will help council's assets be in a better position to handle future extreme weather events. I believe this budget strikes a good balance between investing in the core essential services of council while still delivering the services and community engagement events that our community values. And I thank the councils and staff who have all worked collaboratively on this budget. And I'm very pleased to move this amendment tonight to include many of the items that were raised by the community in submissions, as well as other items that the staff and the councillors believe are worthy of inclusion. So I'm pleased to put forward the amendment for the 2023 operational and delivery plan to be adopted, and I hope councillors will support this amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Wood. Can I just before we go any further, I also do want to congratulate and thank Councillor Bell for all the effort that you put in organising, getting everybody together, organising them to actually provide the submissions to you, and then discussing all these submissions with the council officers and the directors, coming to a reasonable and acceptable conclusion. What I'd like to do at this stage is this. This is probably one of the most, apart from appointing the general manager, this is probably one of the most important decisions we have to make. It's a significantly important decision, and I'm going to cut you all a little bit of slack and let you talk, because many of you had some input into this and discussed it with Councillor Borg, and you obviously felt passionate about what you wanted to put in, take out, put in, take out, and you've had good reasons to do that. So I'm going to allow you to talk in support, or if you want to talk against it, which I find a little bit difficult to comprehend, but I'm going to allow you to talk in support on any matter that is listed in the schedule that Councillor Borg has provided to you, and for the reasonable length of time that's allowed to you. I'll take who's first? I'll take Councillor. No, the second is first. By all means, thank you, Councillor Elmere, and then Councillor Ficarra.
Mr. Mayor, there's nothing really more to add other than what Councillor Borg put forward to us speaking to the motion, but it has been a very inclusive process over the last few weeks of discussing this amongst councillors and also amongst staff, and making sure that we get the right balance to ensure that every section of our community is delivered for within this budget, and that we maintain a very strong position moving forward for our long-term financial plan. One thing that I constantly bring up when speaking to colleagues is always about our long-term financial plan and the need for us to ensure that we keep on the right trajectory and we don't go backwards, because we'd all love to deliver more and more projects every year. However, we are always limited with the income that we receive as council. And I'm sure that over the last couple of years, when we went through the process of a special rate variation and asking our community what they'd like to see, this actually strikes the right balance of delivering on those projects, but also maintaining a very strong grip on making sure that we don't explode in our spending, but we also try and deliver on the savings that we promised our community that we would find over the next few years. And I'm sure that over the next few years that there is a great determination by all councillors sitting around this horseshoe to find those savings and to continue to deliver great outcomes for our community moving forward. So good on you, councillors, for discussing this, and I hope that most everyone here will be supporting of the motion. Thank you.
Very briefly, thank you so much to Councillor Borg for putting forward this amendment, which includes some incredibly important things for the community. And I just wanted to speak, pointing out some of the fantastic things that will be occurring in Pecos Ward as part of this amendment. A couple of the traffic studies that people have been contacting myself and Councillor Mining, Councillor Kanyarski about around the Pecos Park area and the Gannons Park area. It's fantastic to see so many people here from the Save Glenlee organisation. Your advocacy of this has been fantastic. It's fantastic that we have this amendment, making sure that money is there to do this study. And just pointing out, thank you so much to the other councillors for all of us being so passionate about the Affordable Housing Contribution Scheme. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it was Councillor Kondowski next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Councillor Borg, I did go through each and every single individual item as you did. And I just want to say what a Herculean effort. Well done. And that was great to bring all the councillors together to speak about those various items that they wanted included at the cost of some others. And I just want to say congratulations. Well done.
Thank you. Councillor Lansbury.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I will also be supporting the amendment put forward by Councillor Borg, and I just wanted to thank Director Danielle Parker and your staff for the briefings that she gave us, which are very comprehensive. It's a very big job that you have, and it's one of those things as councillors, we're never going to make everyone happy, which I often say, but I think we've struck the balance pretty much right here. Whilst there might not be every inclusion that's been added that I might be supportive of, I think overall, I think it's a great outcome. And thank you, Councillor Borg, for your leadership. It was a big job pulling us all together, and I very much appreciate your input for it.
Thank you, Councillor Lansbury. Councillor Symington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to point out two items that have received funding, which is the Osprey nesting platform, which is dear to my heart. That started in 2020. There's been lots of liaising with the Mid-Coast Council, creating a working group, and finally a site has been decided upon. So we're kind of nearly there after 3 years. And I want to acknowledge the unwavering support of Helen Jarvis and Megan Argent in never giving up, in seeing this through, that the Osprey would have a place to nest.
And as Matthew Bell, the senior ecologist, said from the Mid Coast Council, build it and they will come. So I'm really happy about that. Also, the wayfinding signs, the dementia wayfinding signs, simple, clear, visible, easy to read. We need things like that for our residents that suffer dementia, because we need to support them in our community. It needs to be safe in our community. So I'm happy with that inclusion. Thank you.
So thank you, Councillor Simon. And Councillor Wu, did you? Oh, no, you're not there. Councillor Nancy Wu, sorry. Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the Madam Chair to lead the flow of this budget. Thank you so much. And in particular, I wanted to thank you because my focus is not only for the Hurstville Ward, is in Ward NY in the Georges River LGA. Thank you, Andrew Latta and his team to put the budget and funding into this 2023 to 24 budget to commence the replacement program for the fading street sign. Thank you so much for doing that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there any other further discussions? Councillor Marnie? Yeah.
Oh. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank our Chair of the Finance Committee, Elise Borg, and also the directors for their contributions to this complicated process, and also the council of the community for speaking their minds. And just like to tick off a few things that people have been onto me about the last couple of years: the tree register, study into Glenlee, the wildlife protection area signage, and also Councillor Symington's action on the Osprey nesting platform. They're all, probably not big ticket items, but they're all very much appreciated by people that are in my ward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Councillor Lansbury, did you want to say anything further? No. Has anybody else wanted to say anything further? Look, I'll just make two little comments. I've got to say that in the beginning, when I got some, some viewpoints. I had some people gave me their viewpoints about how we're going to handle this and how's it going to come about. We'll probably be going till 2 o'clock in the morning, arguing which is going to go in, which is going to be taken out, and which is going to happen. And then after circulating my email requesting that you all collaborate and try as much as you can to give the information to the council officers prior to the weekend. We don't want to end up on Monday having various arguments over it. I've got to congratulate and thank all the councillors for actually collaborating and coming together and working with their chair, Councillor Borg, who did an excellent job, I will say that, and did an excellent job in coordinating and getting it all together. But you need to pat yourself on the back for actually getting together and saying, this is what I really want, and this is what. Unfortunately, what you really want has dropped our surplus from 4 million to 3.4 million. Now, I've spoken to the General Manager about this, and he's going to be on your backs vehemently to ensure that you don't actually try over the next year or so to actually increase it and put more in. But he did indicate to me that he's going to try and find some cost savings for us. But that's okay. I've got to say, I'm not interested to a certain degree on surpluses. I understand that many people think a surplus is good management. But in actual fact, when we're talking about a community organisation and we're talking about the community itself, we have to spend money. We do have to spend money to meet up with their expectations and needs. So a surplus, okay, I understand it's a good thing for our General Manager and a good thing for the Office of Local Government. But when it comes to servicing our community, we cannot drop our service levels to a point where it's ridiculous. So I think that you can do your best to pull back on some of the expenditure, but at the same time, I think 3.4 surplus is not too bad. So congratulations, councillors. I will, unless anybody else has any more to say, I will put the motion. Did you want to write a reply? Yeah, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against say no. I declare it carried, and thank you very much.
I feel like we should clap as well.
So you should be happy. Anyway, now we'll go to the next notice of motion, and that's in the name of Councillor Marnie. Glenn Lee, 80 Baronia Parade, Lugano.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I should start off by declaring interest in this item as well. Being a member of Friends of Glen Lee and Only Flora and Fauna, it is non-pecuniary. Okay, the community has spoken, and thank you all for coming again tonight just to see what's going on with Glen Lee again. And we as councillors have passed a long series of unanimous resolutions in favour of the heritage listing and funding for the purchase of Glen Lee. I again thank the community for its strong and unanimous, unwavering advocacy, and the Director, Environment and Planning, and her staff for their well-researched and detailed reports. It's now up to the newly elected state government to show its support, together with whatever assistance might be necessary from the Commonwealth. As the property is now up for sale, there is no time to waste, and as this is the year of the voice, placing Glen Lee in public hands and protecting it for the future will be one way of showing respect to our First Nations people. Thank you.
Second to Councillor Jamieson. Did you want to talk to this, Councillor Jamieson? All right. Did anybody else want to talk to this motion of Councillor Marnie? No? Okay, I'll put it. All those in favour say aye. Aye. All those against say no. Declare it carried. We'll now go to another motion by Councillor Marnie dealing with soft plastics and recycling scheme. Councillor Marnie.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'll just move the motion as printed in the paper. Thank you.
Seconder, Councillor Nancy Liu. Does anyone want to talk to this? Oh, did you want?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and congratulations on the notice of motion, Councillor Mahoney. I was down at Canberra the last week or so at the conference, and there were a number of stalls down there which I picked up some bits and pieces regarding soft plastics and also regarding a whole heap of other things. But what I will do is not go through everything. I will table these and make them available for everybody to have a look at, particularly Director of Assets, who may be very interested in some of these items.
Councillor Liu, Councillor Konjarski, sorry. Councillor Liu, did you want to say anything?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. By all means.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very briefly, thank you, Councillor Marnie, to bring back this topic again. And thank you for him to second my motion back to March this year. So we're all concerned about and talk about this one, and so keen to make some changes for this item. So after 3 months, thank you for Councillor Marnie to ask for any updates. So we're looking forward to receiving any feedback from the government. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Liu. Does anybody else want to talk to it? Being none, I'll put it. All those in favour say aye. Aye. All those against say no. Declare it carried. Now we come to the Uluru Statement from the Heart and the Voice to Parliament. Councillor Ajmini Ambi-Hapaha.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Seconded. Yeah. Moved by Councillor Ajmini Ambi-Hapaha and Councillor Catherine Lansbury.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This year, a once-in-a-generation breakthrough to make Australia a better place will occur. Australians will have the chance to have the say in a referendum to recognise Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the first people of Australia through the voice enshrined in our Constitution. The voice will be something practical
towards improving lives to ensure our First Nations people are heard. It will provide advice that comes straight from the First Nations people who will have a direct input on decisions that affect them. The Voice is not the federal government's idea, nor it's an idea from a political party. It is what has been asked for by our First Nations people. The Voice will be an opportunity to unify our country. The Uluru Statement from the Heart is an invitation from First Nations people to all Australians seeking support for their asks to be, number one, recognised, and two, to be heard. Because we know more of the same right now is not working. Now, there will be lots of questions that people will have in our community about this referendum, and it's very important that our community have access to information before they vote. And this motion is to ensure we can deliver and provide access to that information. I don't want people going to the ballot box voting no because they didn't know. I commend the Council for the events and activities to build awareness in the LGA about the referendum, and to you, Mr. Mayor, for signing the joint statement end of last year supporting the Uluru Statement of the Heart alongside other mayors across Australia. We can hang the First Nations flags in chambers and continue to acknowledge country when we meet. But this referendum is a paramount opportunity for Georges River Council and the community to take a profound step towards reconciliation and closing the gap. This is absolutely something we can deliver. I too, like Minister Burney, have faith in the community to do the right thing. I recommend everyone to read the Uluru Statement of the Heart. There is nothing divisive about this invitation. It is a well-crafted and thought-out document clearly articulating the ask to be recognised and to be heard. Only peace and love and unity pours from this document. The end of the Uluru Statement from the Heart states, in 1967 we were counted, in 2017 we seek to be heard. We leave base camp and start our trek across this vast country. We invite you to walk with us in a movement of the Australian people for a better future. I ask fellow councillors tonight, and most importantly the community of Georges River, to lean in on this once-in-a-generation opportunity to support our First Nations people's invitation by supporting the Voice, to recognising 65,000 years of shared history and to help close the gap. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Lansley, did you want to say a few words?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's stuck. Oh, great. I'm working now. Thank you. Firstly, I'd like to thank Councillor Ambi Haig-Fahar for bringing this to us tonight and for speaking so eloquently about this really important issue. Councillor Ambi Haig-Fahar, the Mayor, Councillor Marnie and myself were at a forum on Saturday down at Rockdale Town Hall, hosted by Bayside Council, which was included the Minister for Indigenous Affairs, Linda Burney, Craig Foster, who former Socceroo, and interestingly, we learnt that day, has also studied constitutional law, and it was a really informative forum. And it was also attended by hundreds of people. It wasn't just a Labor love-in, I can guarantee you that. There were a lot of members from the community that were there, and I even had a conversation on my way out the door by an older man who used to be a councillor at Hurstville. I didn't know him, but he was a councillor here many years ago, and he was like, why should I vote for the Voice? And so he was there to educate himself. And one of the most important things I think we can do as councillors and ostensibly community leaders is help educate the community as to why this is an important thing for us to do at this point in time. There are many sources of information, but one thing, and I'm sure it's not a problem for me to bring a prop in, this particular book, which was put together by Indigenous leader Thomas Mayo and journalist Kerry O'Brien, is a really good start for people just to get a basic understanding of what the Voice is all about, and learn what the case is for yes and the case for no. I probably don't think it's any secret that I will be supporting the yes case, but me supporting this motion here tonight does not compel anybody else in the Georges River community to do that. All I can do is advocate for it. as a councillor and somebody who believes passionately in social justice and justice for First Nations people, that if you have any doubts about it, please, ask me. I can direct you to a number of sources that could be providing you with a balanced case. Obviously, there is some concerns, I think, around the table that as council, we should not be endorsing a position on this. I dispute that. I think as council, we should be taking a position on it, as so many other entities have across Australia. We've got sporting associations and big business, and we've got the federal government, we've got the state government. In fact, Premier Chris Minns spoke at the event on Saturday and spoke very eloquently about the reasons why the time is right for us to do this, and we cannot miss this opportunity. As Councillor Amber Haper said, we don't want people to turn around in 10 years' time and say, wow, I wish I knew more about what it was actually going to do. It's representative of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities. It will be empowering and community-led. It will be accountable and transparent, and it will work alongside existing organisations. There's all sorts of misinformation that's been spread by the NOCAT. I'm not going to go into detail about that now, but what I would like to say that enshrining this in the Constitution means that it can't be dissolved on the whim of a future government, as was done by John Howard when he abolished ATSIC and other Aboriginal organisations at that time. And my understanding, I learnt a lot the other day, is that the gap has increased since those organisations were dissolved. There is entrenched disadvantage, and recognition in our Constitution is long overdue. But setting up a voice is a way to fundamentally change the way that laws are made that affect First Nations people and that will have long-term flow-on effects. Those words are from Senator David Pocock, who is, as we know, former Wallaby. He's now a crossbencher in the Senate, and I've read a lot from a lot of different people in different walks of life, and those words really resonated with me. And I think I'm very proud to support your motion here tonight, Councillor, and I hope that the rest of the council feels the same. So I think we're once in our lifetime opportunity to actually help get rid of some of the entrenched disadvantage, address some of the wrongs that have been occurring for our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples for many generations. The last time that we had a referendum that related to them was in 1967, and it was very heartening that it was an overwhelming response by Australians then. I'm hoping that our numbers this time round actually reflect that. We've got a bit of a way to go. We don't even have the date yet. Chances are it'll be sometime in October or November. But in the meantime, we need to educate ourselves and our community and show leadership as a council that this is the right thing to do at the right time. Thank you.
Does anybody else have anything to add? Councillor Elmer? Yeah. Oh, Councillor Muddy spoke for, sorry, Councillor, did you?
Yeah, if I could, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I've got yours first.
Thank you. Apart from having much poorer standards of health, including alarmingly high infant mortality rates and much shorter life expectancy, First Nations people generally have far worse education outcomes and employment prospects and enjoy a much lower standard of living than non-Indigenous Australians. The statistics are confronting, to say the least. In 2020, the Productivity Commission found that since the 1991 Royal Commission into Aboriginal deaths in custody, the number of First Nations people in the prison population had actually doubled from 14 to 28%. And since that Royal Commission was held, which was supposed to fix the problem in 1991, 540 more Indigenous have died in custody. At the forum that I went along on Saturday and attended by the Mayor and Deputy Mayor and Councillor Amber Haber, there was a lot of evidence presented in favour of the yes case, including some really telling case history, such as the family of 30 living in a two-bedroom house. One of my relatives worked in Indigenous education in the Northern Territory for 40 years until the government withdrew the English as a second language program from remote communities. So they're literally Australian citizens who will quite possibly never be able to speak English. I've worked and now volunteer with the Indigenous community and have seen a disconcerting amount of disadvantage firsthand. So yes, for me, capital YES, Australia definitely needs the voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, unlike the previous couple of speakers, I have a problem with this notice of motion. It concerns me, and it concerns me deeply. The legality of this notice of motion concerns me, but not just that. It's just a notice of motion for a yes vote, and by supporting this, we're actually coercing our residents and constituents to vote yes. And I believe that as a council, as an organisation, we should remain unilateral or apolitical, and not try and convince our residents and constituents to vote yes or no, for that matter. I feel that Georges River Council should be providing an education program, as Deputy Mayor Catherine Lansbury suggested, and we should provide that education program with no prejudice. Provide the tools. We should provide the tools to our constituents. We should provide those tools to our residents so that they can make an informed decision, and not one where we have actually asked them to vote or coerced them in a way where we agree with this notice of motion is actually telling them this is the way you need to go. So I don't know, personally, I would rather see that notice of motion as an education program rather than a yes vote.
Thank you, Councillor Konjowski. Councillor Elmir, you're next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I raise to speak against this motion and possibly foreshadow another motion, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Councillor Amber Hay-Pahar on putting this motion forward, something she is deeply passionate about, as we've heard from her and also from Deputy Mayor Catherine Lansbury. But if I could foreshadow a motion, Mr. Mayor, I hold the view as well that is similar to Councillor Konjowski in that I welcome Council to undertake a process to provide the relevant materials within our community to make an informed decision. Materials that would be sourced from verified sources, authorised and made available, directing the public to go and source that information so that they can read up and make an informed decision on whether they should vote yes or no. It's also important to recognise that this is a referendum, and a referendum has many legalities, something that even people that are involved in politics probably don't understand. It is quite complex, and I think that it's important to source that information from the Australian Electoral Commission to find out exactly what it means in holding a referendum and how the Constitution will change. I've prepared some wording, Mr. Mayor, and I've provided it to council officers, and if I could raise that up on the screen. This is in lieu of it. Should Councillor Amber Hay-Pahar's motion not be carried, then I intend to move a motion where Council notes the importance of increasing community awareness to the upcoming referendum, and B, Council provide guidance to source verified yes and no campaign material, including information provided by the Australian Electoral Commission regarding the upcoming referendum so that our community can make an informed decision. Mr. Mayor, to me, the information that you provide to people is the biggest source to make sure that there is no misinformation being used for that person to make a decision. And I think that is the most important factor during this debate. We must keep it respectful. Each individual has their own views on certain things and may view things completely differently to one another. However, I think the humanity aspect of it must always remain, whether you're on this side or that side. We know from statistics that people are split right down the middle, right? And I think that a lot of that can shift the debate either one way or the other, just with a little bit more information. And if Council can provide that information or that guidance to our community to ensure that that information goes ahead, then that's great. The points that Councillor Konjowski raised are also points that I brought up with Councillor Amber Hay-Pahar earlier, in that the first 2 points of her motion, whilst I understand where it's coming from, I also believe that the messaging from it may give the impression that we as an area need to be supportive of such and such. Now, I think what's important is that we acknowledge that those documents are available and make sure that people become aware and informed about those documents, and therefore using the information from those documents, they also apply that when they're making a vote at the referendum. So, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to leave it there, and thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Jamieson. Yeah.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, can I just ask a few questions?
Yeah.
The first question is this lawful? The first question.
I think I can only refer that to the General Manager or the.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, this has been checked by our legal department, and I feel that it is a legal motion.
Thank you. Then the other questions I have, does this, to me, this looks like an education. Is this any way more than an education? Is this saying, I don't get this as reading, vote yes, I get this. I read this motion as get all the information, because we are as councillors getting a lot of people saying it's, probably a lot more negative than positive, saying that, we're going to be taken over if we let the voice happen. Is this just purely providing information to people? Because I don't know that much about it, I have to say. Or is this, is this a yes motion?
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think it depends on who reads the motion that's before us. When I read it, I see the message in it, but it doesn't mean that I'm right or I'm wrong. It depends on the person who's reading it, and that's why when I read it, I look at it and say, yes, it is a legal motion, because it gives me the direction that exactly what you're saying, and that is that it's asking for more information. It's suggesting that there be, other avenues for people to find out information on the voice and so on, for them to be able to make their own decisions and not be, guided by other people's opinions.
Is there any further discussion on this motion? A right of reply, Councillor Ambiha Kaha.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just touch on a couple of things. So I think General Manager has already addressed the legalities aspect. So obviously the motion I filed at the last meeting was withdrawn because there were Councillor Elmi had raised concerns on the legality of the notice of motion at the time. After being provided advice on that motion, we've corrected the notice of motion so it's in compliance with, in respect of it being lawful. I hear what Councillor Elmi has indicated around the scopes of whether this is supporting a yes campaign, and that particular around subsections A and B. However, pertaining to your second part of your foreshadowed motion is clearly satisfied by the wording specifically in subsection D and E, where it talks about providing community awareness programs, which at the time when I put the notice of motion, I was hoping it would be rolled out with the council's program in respect of the Indigenous, the referendum, understanding the referendum that week at the Hurstville Library. So something somewhat similar that obviously is clearly sits within the scope of providing community awareness around the yes and no aspect. So
thank you, Councillor Ambiha Kaha. Well, there can't be any more discussion on this. Well, I'll have to put it, but I think we will have to go around the table. The horseshoe.
Your vote, please, Mr. Mayor.
I'm for it.
Councillor Ambiha Kaha. For. Councillor Borg.
For.
Councillor Elmi.
Against.
Councillor Fakara.
For.
Councillor Jamieson.
For.
Councillor Kinjarski.
Against.
Councillor Lansbury.
For.
Councillor Liu.
Against.
Councillor Marnie.
For.
Councillor Mort.
For.
Councillor Smerdley.
Against.
Councillor Stratokopoulos,
Against.
Councillor Symington,
For.
Councillor Wang.
For.
10 for, 5 against.
I declare it carried. Now we need to go to empowering youth to inspire change. Councillor Lansbury.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just for a slight change of pace, I'll move the resolution that appears on the business paper, and if I can get a seconder, I'll speak briefly to it.
Seconder is Councillor Amby Papa.
Thank you. A couple of weeks ago, I had the pleasure of representing you, Mr. Mayor, at the showcase for the EYTIC Youth Showcase, the Empowering Youth to Inspire Change Showcase next door at the Civic Centre. And basically what it is, it's a leadership program which is offered to high school students in the St George and Sutherland region, and it develops their awareness and skills to promote change, advocate against racism, promote social justice and equity, and to create a more inclusive and welcoming environment for everyone. So it was on the 14th of June actually that they presented their showcase, and it was to fellow students, teachers, parents and guests. Some of the actions that they included with their time that they worked on this project were providing leadership to their fellow students, artworks, special event days, food days, short films and other activities to promote things like racism is not welcome in their school communities and beyond. The facilitator of the program is the Gymea Community Aid and Information Service, and Georges River Council has partnered with them on their youth leadership programs for a number of years. It was interesting to note that the 2021 census data shows that 46% of the GRC population was born overseas and 53.2% use a language other than English at home. Now, someone like me, who was like a 5th or 6th generation skip, I don't have that sort of level of diversity in my family history. My people came here as convicts, so I just find it really quite fascinating to see what people's stories are and what their heritage is. And, you know, they, well, obviously the kids that were at the showcase were not everybody involved. They were the ambassadors for the group, but what they did was they each did a presentation on what they had done in their school community, and there was a really lovely collaboration between Beverly Hills Girls and Engadine High School. Very different schools, very diverse at Beverly Hills, not so much at Engadine, and they learnt a lot from each other, which I think was really great. The teacher from Beverly Hills was Mark Goodcamp, and Ellie Hart is from Engadine High School, and they worked really closely with all of the students to support them through this process and encourage them to talk about racism and explain what bystander what a bystander is to racism, and how you've got to stand up and speak out if you see it. And a lot of that sort of stuff happens in schoolyards. It happens in every walk of life. Unfortunately, I do think there is a lot of racism in the Australian community, but the only way that we're ever going to change that is by educating our youth to not accept it, to be inclusive and just accept people for who they are. And, you know, their background is really irrelevant when you get down to it. When I spoke there, I spoke about Council's commitment to celebrating and supporting diversity in our community, and about GRC's Better Together anti-racism campaign and our Racism Not Welcome campaign, which we're one of 16 councils who support that. Last week we had Refugee Week was celebrated in Hurstville. Councillor Moore went along to hear a talk by Shari Rafi, who's an ambassador of the Refugee Council of Australia at Hurstville Library. I wasn't able to get to that one, so it was great. So I'm really happy that that went well. So I'll just finish by saying there's a lot more to do in this space, but it was so encouraging to see the enthusiasm of the students participating in this program, and also the support that they had for their fellow schools and other students, and the support the older kids had for the younger ones coming through. And, you know, it makes me feel that, you know, we're going to be okay one day. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lansbury. Amby Haper, did you want to say anything? Okay.
Thank you.
Did anyone want to say anything further? No? Well, I'll put it. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
All those against say no. I declare it carried. This next motion is for Councillor Ficarra. Thank
I'd
you.
like to second, Mr. Mayor.
It's been moved by Councillor Ficarra, seconded by Councillor Smoke. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just speaking to this motion today, maybe not so briefly. I move this motion today for two core reasons, and I note that I'm submitting it with an amendment. And thank you to the councillors who've worked with me on this amendment. I think it's great that myself and Councillor Jamieson and Councillor Armani were able to make some improvements to this motion, so thank you. So I move this motion today for two core reasons. The first reason is for animal and human welfare. I've had conversations with residents of my ward who have told me, and I have visited these places and seen physical evidence that there are cats that do not have an owner who are living within my ward. From an animal welfare perspective, the conditions that the cats are typically living in are very disappointing. Cats are domesticated animals who should not be living in wild conditions, nor in abandoned houses that are dirty and potentially unsafe. Further, there are instances where unowned cats cause a health and safety concern to the families who live in the vicinity of them. I believe that, like how the Act provides much direction in terms of how councils can seize unowned dogs and remove them from unsafe living conditions, councils should be able to seize unowned cats from unsafe living conditions as well. The second reason that I move this motion is because of the environmental impacts of roaming cats. Every year in Australia, millions of native animals are preyed upon and killed by cats. According to the Threatened Species Recovery Hub fact sheet named The Impact of Cats in Australia, a pet cat residing in an urban area can roam and hunt 186 mammals, reptiles and birds per year. Georges River Council's own 2021 biodiversity study states that roaming cats are a predator to native species in our local area. This motion is consistent with the views of the Invasive Species Council, BirdLife Australia, the Australian Wildlife Society, the Nature Conservation Council and WISE, who highly recommend reform of the Companion Animals Act regarding this issue. I believe that we have a collective responsibility to address this threat on our native wildlife. I acknowledge that this is only one element of the Act, I acknowledge that this one element of the Act is not the be-all and end-all of how to address this matter, and thank you to the residents who have participated in the public forum discussing many of the options that should be considered on how to address this matter. This is a complex environmental matter which deserves an intergovernmental research and consultation-based review. However, I felt a duty to move this motion today to speak on behalf of residents of my ward who are very concerned about this matter for many different reasons. I encourage my fellow councillors to please support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ficarra. Councillor Smoker, did you want to say a few words? Does anybody else want to say anything?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Conjusky, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And this is a very courageous notice of motion by Councillor Ficarra, and I congratulate her on putting that forward. A study by, I think it's Sydney Uni, suggests that 1.1 billion pet cats are contained 24/7 by responsible owners. But a further 2.7 million pet cats, or 71% of all cats are able to roam and hunt. So despite cats coming across as really cute little animals, they roam and kill 390 million animals per year in Australia, including reptiles, birds and mammals. So that's right, 390 million animals per year. So think about that for a moment. So companion animals are not strays. There are ways of containing your cats in the backyard. And if you look it up on Google, there are various roller type devices that you can put across the top of your fences so that the cats don't jump over the top. But I find that astounding. 390 million animals are killed per annum by not stray cats, sorry, not feral cats, but by stray pet cats.
Thank you, Councillor Konjowski. Councillor Symington. No, he's not.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say that I've been contacted repeatedly by residents in the Beverly Hills area on the east side in Frederick Street, Norfolk Avenue, Lee Street, Morgan and Cahill Street that are impacted by roaming stray cats. And it's really difficult when you say to them that the council officers have their hands tied, they can't do anything because of the Companion Animals Act. So the council officers need provisions changed so they can, and in a measured way and with an education program. I mean, there should be a better solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Symington. Anybody else wanting to? Councillor Jamieson, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you because I think there's quite a few residents that, if you look at the wording, it's quite intimidating, but I appreciate the fact that it will be done in consultation with people, Sydney Cats and Dogs and all those people that are giving up so much time to save, stray cats, that it's going to be done with them. And as you said, Councillor Ficarra, that there is a whole list of things, like she gave us 10 stuff to sort of work on. So I appreciate that that's recognised and it will be incorporated. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jamieson. Has anybody else got anything else to say on this one? No? Well, I'll put it. All those in favour say aye. Aye. All those against say no. I declare it carried. And councillors, now that finishes the notices of motion, and we've got questions on notice. I will take questions on questions, but not notice of motion. In other words, if you've got a question which you believe has not been answered by the question that you pose, I'll take a question. Councillor Marty.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, but it's not a question. I just want to point out that I do have declaration of interest in the first one, QN 02323, Glenlee, being a member of Early Flora and Fauna and Friends of Glenlee, non-significant, non-pecuniary. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Marty. So if no one else has got any questions on questions, I will, on notice, I will now go to the confidential item. Sorry? Yeah. Unfortunately, the gallery has to vacate, and you can come back after we've finished. Thank you.
You're going to read it out, Nick?
Can I read it out now? Okay. Confidential Council's Code of Meeting Practice allows members of the public present to indicate whether they wish to make representation to the meeting before it's closed to the public as to whether that part of the meeting dealing with any of all the matters listed should or should not be considered in closed session. Nobody's there. Oh, there's still one person. Okay, well, I'll go to keep reading. That in accordance with the provision of Part 1 of Chapter 4 of the Local Government Act 1992, the following matters be considered in closed meeting in which the press and public are excluded. I suppose I'm supposed to ask you if there's anyone put a submission to you? No, okay. The first one is the recycles processing direct negotiations on.
I'd like to move the procedural motion that we go into closed session.
Moved by Councillor Elmer, seconded by Councillor Konjowski. All those in favour say aye. I declare it carried. Now we'll go to the recyclables processing. Yeah, the recommendation. Yeah. Yeah, but we need the recommendations. We need the recommendations. Look, the recommendations from the panel are all, I won't read it out unless someone wants me to read it out. Councillor Marnie, that is as per the recommendation. And the next one Can we have the next one? And the next one, you've actually got to put in there, we've got Councillor Mayor and Councillor Ball. The Mayor and Deputy Mayor are a given. Okay, so could we have a motion to
I move that we adopt those two motions from closed
moved by
session, Mr.
Councillor
Mayor.
Mayor, seconded by Councillor Konjarski. Is there any discussion? There can't be. That's it. I've got it. All those in favour, say aye. Good. Councillors, I declare. Is there anything else? That's it. Councillors, I declare the meeting closed at 9:28. Thank you and good night. Good luck and God bless.